Hi, boys and girls. I was just reading in my Bible today about four faithful men who took their friend to see Jesus. Do you know why? So that Jesus could make him well again. It's such a good story. Do you want to hear about it? All right, I'll read it out of this storybook first, and then at the end of the video, I'll read to you the words from the Holy Bible of the actual event that took place in Luke chapter 5, verse 17 to 26. Are you ready? All right, here we go. I am so glad you're here. It's wonderful to get to read together. You are learning so much. Let's learn about being a faithful friend. Four faithful friends. Written by Diane Stortz, illustrated by Bill Dixon. There was a man who couldn't walk, who wanted to see Jesus. He wanted Jesus to make him well. But how would he get to the house where Jesus was? The man's friends talked it over. No problem, they said, and they carried him on his mat to the house where Jesus was. But when they got there, they couldn't get in. There was no room inside the house, no room outside the house, no room anywhere except the roof. No problem, said the four friends, and they carried the man up the roof. But now they had a problem. How would they get the man into the house to see Jesus? No problem, they said. And they made a hole in the roof. The people in the house looked up. They saw the four friends and the man on his mat. How would the man get down? No problem, said the friends. Slowly, they lowered the man on his mat through the hole in the roof into the house where Jesus was. Get up, said Jesus. Take your mat and go home. No one talked. No one moved. Could Jesus heal a man who couldn't walk? No problem, said the man's four friends. Everyone was amazed and filled with wonder when the man stood up and picked up his mat. We haven't seen anything like this before, they said. And the man walked out the door and went home, praising God because Jesus had healed him. 4 faithful friends. Boys and girls, let's read it now from the Holy Bible, from Luke chapter 5, verses 17 to 26. Jesus heals a paralytic. Boys and girls, being paralyzed means that he couldn't walk and probably couldn't use his legs. He would have had to sit or lie down all the time. On one of those days, as he was teaching, Pharisees and teachers of the law were sitting there, who had come from every village of Galilee and Judea and from Jerusalem. And the power of the Lord was with him to heal. Boys and girls, this story took place a little after Jesus had touched a man who had leprosy and made him better. Jesus was going from place to place performing miracles, and everyone wanted to see him. People were excited whenever they heard that Jesus was in their area because they wanted to see a miracle, or perhaps they wanted to be the one who got healed. And behold, some men were bringing on a bed a man who was paralyzed, and they were seeking to bring him in and lay him before Jesus. But finding no way to bring him in because of the crowd, they went up on the roof and let him down with his bed through the tiles into the midst before Jesus. And when he saw their faith, he said, "Man, your sins are forgiven you." And the scribes and the Pharisees began to question, saying, "Who is this who speaks blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone?" When Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answered them, "Why do you question in your hearts? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven you,' or to say, 'Rise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." And he said to the man who was paralyzed, "I say to you, rise, pick up your bed, and go home." And immediately he rose up before them and picked up what he had been lying on and went home, glorifying God. And amazement seized them all, and they glorified God and were filled with awe, saying, "We have seen extraordinary things today." Boys and girls, these 4 faithful friends were so sure that Jesus would be able to heal him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone to so much trouble to take him all the way to Jesus. What was the first thing Jesus said when he saw that they believed. He said, "Man, your sins are forgiven you." Now, that's probably not what the man expected, since he came to Jesus because he wanted to walk, right? But Jesus knew what this man needed most, because he knew what was in his heart. What was in his heart, boys and girls? Sin. Sin was in his heart, boys and girls. The bad things he's done against God. We all have sin, boys and girls. Jesus knew that being paralyzed would be hard. But what do you think is worse than being paralyzed? Think about it, boys and girls. What is worse than not being able to walk? It would be even worse not to be forgiven. In verse 21, when I read it to you, the teachers of the law, the Pharisees, heard Jesus forgive the man, and they began thinking, how dare this man forgive sins? Only God can do that. Immediately, Jesus knew what they were thinking, and he said to them, "Why are you thinking these things?" This probably surprised the men, right? Because Jesus knew what they were thinking. Boys and girls, Jesus is God, which means that he knows what you're thinking. He does, because God knows everything. Jesus wanted them to know that he has authority on earth to forgive sins. You know why? Because he's God's son. God gave him the power to forgive sins and heal. These things could not be done by just a regular person, but only by God. Can you imagine what a very special day that would have been for this man and his 4 faithful friends? The people were amazed, and they praised God, saying, "We have seen extraordinary things today." We thank God for his holy word and for allowing us to learn about these 4 faithful friends and the paralytic that not only got healed, but forgiven. Boys and girls, did you know that you can tell Jesus that you're sorry for your sins and be forgiven? He's ready to hear you now. He loves you very much and wants to forgive you. No matter how bad the thing that you have done wrong has been, you can be forgiven. Pour out your heart to Jesus and be free of your sins. And be a faithful friend to others. Christ wants to live in you. You are a special creation of God. See you next time.